folks, don't mind the birth control glasses, the reading glasses, plus they're a bit fogged up. But this video is about grinders. So if you like grinders and grinding discs, I had a question on my YouTube channel in the comments from S-Man 3 hours ago actually. It says, I bought a Dewalt DWE 4011 grinder. Never used one before, so appreciate some advice on discs. We'll probably need a grinding disc, a cutoff disc. Also read that Type 1 guard should be used with a cutoff disc. Can you recommend discs and if the guard is needed? Well, I'll answer the last one first. When it comes to grinding guards, let's just say, how valuable is your eyesight? Because like when I was in the U.S. Army, they asked us how much are your earplugs worth, and we're like $2. And like, that's all you value your eyesight for? And we're like, okay. If you value your eyesight, depending on what you're doing, sometimes you might not be able to get a guard in there. And if you can't get it in there, then take the grinder guard off. If you can use it with the guard on, use it with the guard on. If you think you know what you're doing, one of the best things you can also add is this. If you don't have a guard on, I would recommend you, if you take the guard off, you put one of these on your face and hope to hell. Because I tell people, when it comes to safety, would you rather lose an eyeball or lose a mask for 20 bucks, or have explode in here? Because the thing with grinding discs is, with cheap ones, I mean, these ones do it too, but mostly the cutoff discs are prone to exploding. You get old ones, you drop them, you dent them, they just shatter. The other thing with grinders is these things throw lots of little things. I always have them embedded in my arms when I'm not wearing long sleeve shirts, or they're embedded all over my shirt or the work apron I have. So are guards really needed? I would think. Some people are like, no guard. But if you look at the number of videos where people have grinding discs embedded in their face, or have to go to the hospital and get 3 stitches, because, I think if you can afford PPE, personal protective equipment, I would wear it. Sometimes we're all human. We don't, sometimes we all, hey, I forgot to wear the mask, or we can't fit the mask in the hole. We take a chance, but at least basic, these are not safety goggles, they're reading glasses. But wear some kind of eye protection. Anytime I use a grinder, I always wear gloves. I know gloves can get caught in the grinder, but if it's still on the grinder, so. And before I go into like what kind of discs, I'll just show you what I got for grinders. There's a reason why I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had 7, but one burnt out. There's a reason why I have different grinders. It's because, see, this is a mucho thick grinding disc, and this one is a 40 grit flat disc. This one's a wire wheel. This one is a cutoff disc. This one is an expensive one. It's a preferred rounded edge disc. And I also have my cordless one, which I tend to change discs. Why do I have so many grinders? Because I'm lazy. Because one of the things about grinding discs, and I'll show you what drives me nuts, the grinders, the most, is this. I'll show you. Let me go get some here. I always. And one of the things about grinders, the reason why a lot of you are too lazy to change them, is because these stupid things. This one I bought because it's supposed to work on all grinders. See, it's a double-sided one. Doesn't work worth a shit. This one, I don't know if it's for. Which one is this for? It's not for that one. This one fits on the Milwaukee. This one I think is for the Dewalt. I think it's for the Dewalt. No, it's not the Dewalt. This is for the Makita. The Dewalt one has its own, which I think is, I think I have another grinder. I think I went to my father-in-law. Also has its own little, I had to buy an adjustable one. I want to buy another one because I keep losing them. And I don't like tying them to the cord because it's just stupid. And the other one which I have is, let's see. the companies finally got smart, and the last one they put an Allen key on the grinder, which is woohoo. Imagine that, you put an Allen key on it so you tighten up one of the, which one is it? Is it this one? Yeah, one of them has the holes, there's an Allen key on it, which is kind of smart because Allen keys are cheap. And basically, you know what, you want to, I use them because I just pick the grinder up, use it, bring 2 grinders, and have to sit there, whatever. If you can afford more than 1 grinder, it helps. If you can afford more than, you know, 2 or 3 or 4, these are an accumulation of a couple of years worth. The other thing about grinders is there's this kind of switch, which was this is a D2 whatever. I like this kind of switch because you click it and it stays on. Semi-dangerous, but it's, you drop it, it'll stay on. This one I just got the, what is it, 4011. Click it, it locks on. You don't have to sit there and, you know, burn out your thumb. This one has the little lock there. You don't have to worry about this one being plugged in while it's on. This one has the little paddle on the bottom. I really hate these suckers. Most people rip these things up. I don't. Safety. And Milwaukee has the little button on the top. And my other one, cordless, has a button in the back, and you pull it upward. It's a double button, which is even more ridiculous. So they all got different kind of buttons. But I think you were asking about grinding discs. Let me double check here, because I have a memory of a gopher right now because it's hot. Plus you probably hear the fan in the back. It says, also, appreciate some advice on discs. Okay, let me pause this and I'll go get some discs and I'll show you what I use and I'll give you my advice. And there's tons of advice out there, so don't just take my advice. You also learn from experience. So stay tuned, and I'll plug in another segment. So you want some suggestions about what kind of discs to put on a 4.5 inch grinder? Well, first question you got to ask yourself is what application are you doing? Because there's a few suggestions I don't even have. Like you can get the well, first example, like this I had to put it in there because these are sanding discs. You can put the little sandpaper thing, screw it on, it screws on your grinding disc. There's also, what are they called? Like Scotch-Brite pads. It's basically a disc. It has like a Scotch-Brite pad. You can use those for paint stripping metal, stripping rust off metal, all sorts of things. There's buffing pads you can get for them. And I mostly use it for cutting pieces of steel and just grinding stuff out. I also have 3 bench grinders, and those get used for other applications. If you want to, they're basically easy for lopping off stuff. What I do, also, see, there's also wire wheel brushes of different kinds. So you have to be careful on the RPMs on these things, because some of them have like this one's 13,000 RPMs, and some of the grinders only go up to like 9,000 or 10,000. So some of them are good. For the most part, I tend to buy a lot of Walter discs. I basically went through and bought these. I do a lot of cutting, and I use these thin little, I don't know, 1/8 inch thick cutting discs. I find these at Runnings and a lot of places they're like $14 for a 10-pack, so it's like $1.49 each. These Dewalt ones, there's 2 different kinds. I just go there and I pick up whatever box they have. They usually have on sale for $9.99. I'm sure they're like overpriced now. In Canada, these are $59 for a 10-pack. It comes in a little container, which, wait, I'll show you the container. Sorry to leave the camera here. But they come in a little tin box. Like, don't mind the sound of the fan. It's boiling hot in here. But they come in a 10-pack like this. I picked them up. I think I have 3 of them. I keep at least 40 extra ones. I have 80 grit flat discs. This Walter is a 80 grit. I bought a stack of these. I have a whole stack over there. I use them until they're finished. I also have a Walter. I think this is there's another 80 grit, different kind. I don't really know what the hell the difference is, but one's blue, one's green. I got them cheap. I have a bunch of these really huge You can see the difference. The thickness in discs, the abrasive, these are for just grinding out hogging stuff. I even have, it also depends, see, because some of these cutting discs have a little hump in them, they kind of go down. This is made by Forney. It's the same, a little bit bigger. But it depends on what you're doing. If you're going to cut wood with a 4-inch grinder, you got to buy one of those super dangerous chainsaw blade things where if the thing jumps out of your hand, it might chop your leg off. I mean, I'm sure they're safe, but... And most applications, one-handed. A lot of things you do two-handed. But it depends on what you're doing. Like if I'm stripping paint off, a lot of times a simple wire brush thing will shred the paint off. If it's, you want to really smooth out not welds, I mean, you could smooth out welds. If you're a good welder, you won't have to smooth out welds too much, but for aesthetic purposes, flap discs work great for smoothing metal out, rounding stuff out. These little suckers, if you don't just jam it in there, if you just go, in fact, Chris from Make Everything shows that, I think it's him, he does a comparison on how to cut, which cuts better. He also has a really good video on cutting this. But it depends on what you're cutting. For what I use, it's mostly metalwork. And it's, I don't know. I mean, basically there's got to be 200 different brands of grinding discs. And a lot of times it comes down to what's available in your area. If you want to order online, I went to Runnings. I bought I bought a Runnings brand 4.5-inch cutting disc. I bought a Harbor Freight ones, which I will never buy again because you might as well just, want to blow an eye out. I don't trust them. I bought Lowe's brand. I bought, some at Walmart. All the cheapest ones, $2 each, $3. I've tried every one. And honestly, for my preference, this one worked great for the price. I hear there's a lot of other brands online. You can order on Amazon.com. There's all kinds of stuff on there. I don't know if I trust it. You might want to read the comments. Like if there's 1,000 comments, read all 999.9 of them, because sometimes you're like, this will explode. I've had a few discs literally blow up on me and just shatter everywhere. Thankfully, I was wearing glasses and even that shield, but you can still get them embedded in your arm and your hands. And like these ones will gouge. Like you can cut with them, but they will gouge out metal. Flat discs will smooth it. You won't get as much, like I said, these are for cutting. The rounded, if you go on Ferd's, P-F-E-R-D, Ferd, they make a really cool rounded edge grinding disc. So if you're doing some welds and you want some nice smooth spots, because if you're a crappy welder like me, and you just want to get rid of some stuff, so you can slice the finger off, make it look aesthetically pleasing, you can use that. I've used a wire wheel on my grinder on several so far. What's that word? Bench vices. If you look at some of the videos, there's a vise right behind me. I cleared that with a wire wheel. Most of the stuff just to get surface rust off. If you don't want to gouge the metal, use a wire wheel. If you don't want to do anything at all, you just throw in a vat of vapor rust. Save yourself a wire wheel. If you're sanding stuff, smoothing stuff out, you can do various. I try to keep, I don't think I have any left, I try to keep at least, for moving, depending on the grit, how much material you want to move, like I'll get a 60 grit and just remove stuff. 80 grit, a little softer, 120, and then after that you can move on to other types of grinders, because a 4.5-inch grinder is not the only kind of grinder used in the world. I also have, like I'll show you, see, there's several other grinding tools in the arsenal that people don't have. If you have an air hose, in fact, I'm going to make a video about this in a little while. You also have air tools where you can attach you can buy 3.5-inch cutting and grinding disc for this. You can also attach roll locks on these, which do a lot of sanding and grinding. But I find 4.5-inch ones are good for cutting and basically cutting and grinding steel. And for me, that's what I like. I tend to like Walter discs. I tried a Diablo one for cutting, and literally I made 3 cuts and the Diablo was finished. I used Dewalt and cut the like 25 more cuts with it, and I still have a piece of the disc. I don't know if it was that Diablo disc, but in fact, I'll show you. I have it over here. I've never used them since. I always buy a few to try out. So if you look, these are the Diablo metal cutoff discs I bought. And maybe I'll try another one. Maybe it was that disc. Maybe it was the way I was cutting. But I was watching another video online that when you cut, don't just jam it in there because it'll be like shh. But this one, the one I used, literally went like, just went shh. I was like watching it burn through it. They say to like, you know, just carefully go across, in and out. Oh, I think it was, what do you call it? Fireball Tool that tested it. If you go to his website, it's pretty cool too. But yeah, I don't like these. I didn't like them. They were cheap. And see, sometimes you'll get a, see like this, it's got a chip in it. So you have to be careful, the integrity of the disc. You get a crack in it, they can just break right off. And so they're not, so when they're not, can I say, the safest things to use, but they're not too unsafe. You will encounter, if you use these a lot. Like if you look down here, see, look, I'll show you. I definitely have an assortment of grinding discs. Have I tried them all? No. Would I like to? Oh, hell yeah. I would try every grinding disc on the planet. Maybe one day I'll get enough money and buy every brand online. Just be like, oh, this one's great, and time them all and have this fancy video. But ain't nobody got time for that. But you asked what kind of discs. Figure out what application you're using it for. My motto is, if you plan on using the grinder more than once in your life, like if you're like me, you plan on using it every weekend, go out and don't just buy one disc. Like, don't. Because when you go to use it on a Saturday night, you're going to use one disc and everything's going to be closed and nothing's going to be open 10 o'clock on Saturday night and you'll have no more discs. So if you go buy a 10-pack, these things never, if you find them on sale, they never get cheaper unless someone's giving away or they were in a car full of water for 20 years. That's how I shop for, what do you call it, consumables. If I can afford it, I'll buy 10 of these things. If they're on sale and I can buy 3, I'll buy 3 more. Every time I go over the border, I'll spend $2-3 and I'll buy a couple of more. Because if you're using them, you're just constantly using them. There's no end to how many, like I used to use my, what do you call it? My CP air tool all the time. I used to burn through 3-inch air tool grinding discs. Like they were just flying out of my garage. I used to use them all the time. That was before I started using electric tools. Mind you, I still use air tools. But, so, anyway, that's my thought on your question. Thank you very much for the question. Thanks for subscribing. I have 524 subscribers now. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and it's just me sharing information with you. If you have any good feedback, or anyone else has any other feedback on what discs, leave them in the comments, because I don't know everything. We all together, we know everything. And if there's something, like I learned, you know, about flap discs from some dude online. I learned about the rounded ones off of somebody who did a Ferd video on doing little nice corners. I didn't know that you shouldn't, like, what is it? I learned online that RPMs matter, because the higher RPM, the disc will just explode. So you probably should read, like this one is 13,000 RPM. You know, I also learned that you should not cut on the sides of these, because you'll, you know, if you drop them, you'll, you know, it's all a matter of, you should try to keep these like this. You cut them on weird angles and pieces fly off. There's all sorts of things and different techniques. I don't have all the information, and I'm sure a lot of people out there have more information than me. So thanks again, toodles, and thanks for watching.